I've made this whole wheat bread at least 100 times, and I don't think I've bought bread at the grocery store for at least 2 or 3 years because I just keep making this bread. So here we go. The way we start out first is with the wet ingredients. So I've got about a half or 3/4 of a cup of water here, and I'm going to add about a half a cup of milk. So I've got 1 1/4 cups total, and there we are there. And then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of honey to this. So to make life easier, I like to spray the measuring spoon so the honey will come out a little bit better. There we go. And we'll get our 3 tablespoons here. And here's 2. And the 3rd one. Okay, get that in there. Oops, dropped my lid to the spray. Okay, so that's in there. Put that aside. Give that a little bit of a stir. And we'll put this in the microwave for 1 minute. And that will get it to come out to somewhere between 105 and 115 degrees. And we'll add our yeast to that after it's warmed up. So into the microwave it goes for 1 minute. Okay, it's 1 minute later, and we have our warm liquid here. We're going to give it a stir and take its temperature just to see where we're at. And we've got 114 degrees. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it says 114. So that's good. Now we'll go ahead and put our package of 1 package of instant yeast into this and stir it around. And we'll let this sit for about 5 minutes just to see if it blooms up. You really don't need to do this, I don't think, if you've got instant yeast, but I kind of like to do it just to make sure the yeast is good. So we'll let this sit for 5 minutes and then come back and look at it. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and get our dry ingredients together. So let me get the bowl. I'll set this aside. And this takes 2 1/2 cups of whole wheat flour. Get a knife. So we'll get 2 1/2 cups of whole wheat flour into the bowl. If I can get it out of the bag. There we go, there's 1. And come on. And here's 2. And get our 1/2 cup. There's 2 1/2 cups of whole wheat flour, and we're going to add another 1/2 cup of this vital wheat gluten. This stuff, I've found that when I'm using this whole wheat flour, sometimes this bread kind of comes out like a brick. It's really dense, and this vital wheat gluten really just kind of softens it up. Just makes it a lot fluffier and just softer and just better all the way around. So I think it helps it rise too. So if I can get it open here, there it goes. Get a 1/2 cup of that. Okay, set that over there. And we'll give it a tablespoon or a teaspoon and a half of salt. So let's get our salt. Why isn't that coming out? There we go. There's a teaspoon, and then we got another 1/2 one here somewhere. There it is. And give that a good mix up. And we'll go ahead and let that yeast continue to foam up there for another couple of minutes, and then we'll combine it all together and start mixing it in the electric mixer. Okay, this yeast has been foaming up for about 5 minutes here now. So you can see it's kind of foamed up there and ready to go. So I think our yeast is good, and we'll go ahead and add that to the dry ingredients now. Okay, let's get this in here and go ahead and start this mixer up. Oops. See if I can get a little bit more out of here. And then we've got 3 tablespoons of butter we're going to add here also while we're mixing this up. And we'll keep this paddle attachment in there just long enough to get it mixed up, and then we're going to put the dough hook on there and let that go for about 5 minutes or so. So let's do that now. Here's the dough hook. Okay, we'll just let this go for about 5 minutes. So after we're done with the mixer, I kind of like to finish it up by hand, so we'll start with a little bit of flour out here on the work surface and dump it out here, and we're going to just knead this by hand for about a minute or so. And just looking to get it in a nice ball shape. Just twist it about a quarter turn each time and just kind of push it down and really get it nice and compact in a good ball shape or so. That's probably good. And if you poke it and it bounces back, I think that means it's ready. So let's spray our bowl, and we'll stick it in here and let it rise for about an hour. And kind of move the dough around in there a little bit and let it get coated with that spray. And I've got these really nice little lids that I use for this purpose, because for some reason plastic wrap and me just don't get along, and I can't seem to get it to stick on these bowls, or any bowl for that matter. So these little lids are kind of a lifesaver. Alright, we'll let that rise for about an hour in a warm place. Okay, it's been just a little over an hour. Let's see what we got here. So it looks like it's risen up pretty good there. Now we're going to flatten it out and just kind of shape it into a log so it can go in the loaf pan. So we'll just kind of punch it down. Get it good and punch it down, and then we're just going to shape it just kind of like a log, like I say. There we go. Just like that. And then we'll set that aside and get our loaf pan here. Give it a spray. And go ahead and stick that in there. There we go. So we'll go ahead and cover that with a kitchen towel and let that rise for about 30 minutes. Okay, this has been rising for about 30 minutes or so. Let's take a look. So that looks pretty good. It's risen just above the pan, which is good. This will rise a little bit more in the oven, so we are ready to stick this in a 350-degree oven now for 45 minutes. About halfway through the baking time, I like to put a little sheet of foil over the top of it just to keep it from getting too dark. It not really necessary, but I just kind of like to do it as an added insurance. There we go. Shiny side up. And here's the finished product. I like to stick some butter on the top of it right after it comes out of the oven. Just kind of makes it a little bit better. Okay, so now I'll let it just sit in the pan for about 15 minutes and I'll pull it out to cool on the wire rack. So if you're still here, thanks for suffering through my first YouTube video along with me. I'm hoping that the more of these I post, the better they'll be. My main goal in posting these videos is to try to get some experience with this new camera I just got a little while ago. So I'm hoping that making these videos will get me more familiar with this camera and more comfortable using it, because I've never been a camera person. But anyway, back to this. The bread's been cooling for about a little over an hour on this wire rack, so I've got one more thing I want to show you before we call it quits here. I love this little gadget here. It's a bamboo bread slicing guide, and it's so easy to use. You just fold it out like this, and let me move the bread out here where we can use it. It's got these little guides that down on this end they're kind of skinny, and then some not so skinny on this end. I kind of like the skinny ones. But you just put your bread in here and start slicing away. And boy, it sure is nice. Do you really need one of these to slice bread with? No. Do you really need an electric knife to slice bread with? No. But it sure makes life easier. So this is how you do it. And this is what we have. Let me show it to you after we slice it here. And this is the finished product. Hope you enjoyed.